Hello guys, I am Shantanu and here I am taking a new issue from Yojana magazine and it is talking about power for all and energy security. So you can find this article in the Yojana magazine of August 2019 issue and I am Shantanu. So if you have already gone through my previous three videos regarding Yojana, then you have already known that how we are going to use the Yojana magazine as a source for UPSC civil services exam preparation. So we are not wasting our time on redescribing it, rather we are moving straight forward into the discussion. So here is the first slide which is talking about power for all and energy security. So what I have taken as an introduction. Energy is a key indicator of living standards and it is instrumental in raising it. So the energy is actually related directly with the living standard of the citizens of a country. Now, if we can take a look about the per capita energy consumption, then it has a very important relationship with the Human Development Index. What is that? The countries with a higher HDI is actually they're the countries with per capita energy consumption of higher value. Okay, here I am talking about the electricity consumption broadly. Uh, Therefore, India, even though it is accounting for the 18% of world population, it is only using 6% of world's total primary energy. Okay, so these are the three important things why energy is important and how is it related to the development of a country and where is our country. So 3 points I have mentioned it, not making it lengthy. So let's take a look at the energy resources of India. The first and foremost will come coal, that is the thermal power. Okay, India is estimated to have 300 billion tons of coal reserves, which is big one. So the country is dependent on the coal for a giant share of the electricity production. India imports coking coal for steel making. However, it can be made zero if we can take a proper policy framework and apply it. Okay, so we have to take this policy framework in the field of exploration come mining for commercial use. So India is dependent heavily on the coal for its energy generation. Coal is not environment friendly and therefore it is having a bad impact on the environment. However, it is very efficient because the land used to develop a thermal power plant is far more efficient than any other renewable energy sources, say solar energy. Solar energy takes around 50 times more land than the thermal energy plant to produce the same amount of energy. Okay, so we need to remember that why are we depending on coal? Two reasons. Number one, India's reserve is huge. Number two, it is more efficient in terms of land use. Okay, so next source of energy is oil and gas. However, this is an area where India is importing more. So this is not good for our economy. Oil which is imported is very risky because of its volatile nature of international price. Okay, it put great burden on the Indian economy. Gas, however, is cheaper and more environment friendly source of energy, but you cannot supply huge amount of energy from gas so far in India. Oil comprises of 29% of India's energy share and gas consists of 7% of the energy mix in India. Due to our dependency over import and its effect on environment, India needs to devise a policy framework so that we use a less amount of oil and gas based energy. Okay, and more stress should be laid on producing the liquid and hydrocarbon energy sources, and there are other sources of energy as well. The third one is most important, most discussed recently is renewable energy. India can generate renewable energy from the sources like solar, wind, biomass and hydroelectric sources. Being a tropical country, India can harness the solar energy. Agriculture is the main source of livelihood in India still, and therefore there is abundance of waste source to produce biomass energy, and they are also environment friendly. So these are the three important things we need to remember when we are going to promote the renewable energy as part of our energy mix. Okay, however, there are different factors which makes it challenging to produce these renewable energy sources to energy on a large scale. What are they? Seasonality of the sources and uncertainty over their availability, huge capital cost, As we have already told that solar energy takes around 50 times more land to produce the same amount of energy as thermal energy. Okay, so there is a huge capital cost associated with the renewable energy sources. Huge area of land is required and lack of grid connectivity, that is the distribution side bottlenecks. So stress has been given to produce electricity from these sources at a reasonable tariff so that it remains affordable for the masses. But there is a need for research of conversion of solar energy to hydrogen and methanol to make it economically viable. That means although renewable energy sources are holding great potential for the future, it is still not proven source of energy. So there is a space for research. Okay, and there is another form of energy is bioenergy. They are environment friendly, domestically available and domestically usable. It has a potential to replace the LPG as the cooking fuel in the rural areas, and if implemented properly it can reduce the burden of the oil import. So यहाँ पे देखिए LPG को replace कर देगा ना. What is the problem with LPG? In case of LPG, as we already know that these are the liquefied gas. So liquefaction of the gases requires a cost, as well as gasification of it is also associated with some cost. So if we can use the bioenergy, it can reduce both of them. Now another form is nuclear energy, which can be used to produce energy in a large scale. However, it is less viable because huge cost associated with the nuclear reactor building. So government should take a look at this side and should support building the nuclear reactor to make it more viable option for public use, or even it is not possible in that way, government can also take steps to make it the energy source for the industrial use. Okay, government can also consider subsidizing the methanol production as it is a fuel which can be used in transport vehicles. Methanol is a liquid fuel produced from the natural gas or coal. It is economically viable compared to gas, which is used as a fuel in the motor vehicles. So these are the important sources of energy in India. So if we look at them, these are coal, oil and gas. Then comes renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, biomass and hydro sources. Then there comes bioenergy, nuclear energy, and there is a short note on the methanol. So if we talk about energy security, we need to be very clear about what it is actually meant. Energy security should be dealt both from the supply side as well as the demand side. मतलब supply भी वहाँ पे adequate होना चाहिए और demand भी उसका रहना चाहिए ताकि जो supply side constraints है वो reduced किया जाए. It can be met with the following goals. What are they? Diversification of import sources and also diversification of use of electricity. Okay, increased domestic production, reduced requirement of energy and access to energy for all, and that too at a rational price. There are plenty of approaches which may secure us from energy perspective. What are they? Strategic and sustainable exploration and use of energy reserves and building strategic reserves. So as you have already known that India is building strategic petroleum reserves in different places of the country. So that is also important from exam perspective. So you should revise that. So in case of energy, India should also move on to the strategic reserves. So here we are talking about some government initiatives and what is government's vision towards energy security. So here are some statistics as usual. India has improved the energy transition index and presently ranked at 76. This is published by World Economic Forum. It has increased its installed capacity from 344,002 megawatt to 356. So there is an increase, you just remember that. Total energy generation has also increased and this has become 1376 BU, and in this we have taken imports and renewable energy included. Transmission and distribution capacities also have made huge progress. The capacity of thermal power is 64%, which is the highest among the energy sources in India, and it is followed by renewable energy sources. Private sector contributes 46% of the power generated annually in India, and share of renewable energy was 6% in 2014-15, and presently it stands at 10% of the total energy produced in India. As of June 2019, access of electricity for all stands at 99.99%, and cooking fuel is also getting replaced by LPG in rural areas. Financial support to the vulnerable and marginal population is there to ensure their energy usage transformation. Competitive prices is also required to drive the affordability both in the supply side as well as in the demand side. And if we talk about the budget allocation, then we can find that the government has allocated 16,400 crore for the power sector, which is higher than the last year's allocation. Renewable energy sector gets around 4,000 crore and petroleum gets around 38,900 crore of allocation. These data are not important. Just remember which sector is getting the highest allocation. Okay. And the main vision of the union budget regarding electricity is that electricity access. So what is that energy or electricity access? The challenge in the energy access is about connection, accessibility and affordability. Government has set a target to provide electricity connection and access to clean cooking fuel to all willing rural households in the country. यहाँ पे ये willing word बहुत important है. It is mentioned there in the Yojana also. What does that mean? People who are not willing definitely get out of this scheme. There is no such thing that you need to take it compulsory. Okay, this is not a compulsory scheme. There are unwilling people who are not going to be made that they need to get that scheme. Okay, providing solar stoves and battery chargers. Private initiatives will be supported to develop renewable energy as an alternative source of income for the farmers. So doubling the farmers' income is one of the main vision of the government, and this is another avenue to add to that already having income of the farmers. Performance review of the उदय scheme. उदय means उज्जवल डिस्कम योजना और A for है वहां पे assurance. तो यहाँ पे जो डिस्कॉम से यानी कि डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जो पार्ट होता है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का, there will be a performance review. How is it working? Although renewable energy sources are very important avenue for energy generation, they have no mention in the budget. तो बजट में रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी के बारे में डिफरेंट कुछ बोला नहीं गया है. Now we need to move on to the conclusion part. So I have taken three important why we need to look at this and what is India's present scenario and what should be the way forward. As energy is key to economic growth, it is very important to keep our vision towards a balance between energy security and energy access. Supply side has several bottlenecks like import dependence, inadequate source, demand for the renewable energy, lesser economic viability, continuous supply में problem होता है और affordability issue भी होता है वहां पे. Likewise, inefficient distribution is also very important factor we need to look after. Budget में फोकस दिया गया है on structural and tariff policy reforms to improve the distributor sector efficiency, and carriage and content separation is also been proposed in the amended electricity act, which is very important factor. तो वहां पे आप फ्रेगमेंट कर लीजिए, कुछ पार्ट सेपरेट कर लीजिए, कैरेज पार्ट जो है वो अलग तरीके से दिखा जाएगा और कंटेंट पार्ट जो है वो अलग तरीके से दिखा जाएगा. सो दिस इज अ वेरी गुड प्रपोजल. Now, as a country with a huge youth population and aspiring for growth in the upcoming decade, it is very important for us to ensure the energy access for all to be a part as well as beneficiary of the journey towards the growth. So this was the issue which talked about power for all and energy security from the Yojana magazine 2019. So thank you to everyone, and please share your views regarding any other article or any other requirement for your material. I am definitely going to try and provide you with all the possible materials available there. And for now, have a good night.